Hello everyone, welcome to the world of Pokemon. If you're anything like me, Pokemon is one of your personality traits. I want to make my first ever Pokemon region. Here's why. I grew up with Pokemon and I started with Pokemon Diamond, while my brother got the objectively better Platinum at the same time. The bastard. Shout out to my homeboy, my first ever starter, Turtwig. Admittedly, I'm more nostalgic for Generation 5, despite never playing it, but look, there's chubbier little old me! Reshiram and Zekrom plushies? RIP, you are missed. Pokemon Heart Gold was a banger! Look at these box covers, they don't make them like they used to. Oh yeah, Poke Park was a banger too. I wish I got to play the second one though. I'm skipped to now. I've played up to most of the mainline games. I'm still grinding those stupid BBQs so I can capture every starter so that I can unlock and catch Gouging Fire and Raging Bolt. I haven't done the stinky poo-poo diaper peach yet. Tangent over. I always thought of creating a Pokemon region, but always left in the back of my head until now. Being born and raised in California, I felt some injustice with the Unova region. I know we got Alola, but I think there's so much potential in exploring the rest of the continent. My idea for this is to be 3 regions in one. Kinda. Parts of Canada, the United States of America, and Mexico. Primarily the West Coast and some of the Midwest, maybe even Texas. No, I'm not just making Red Dead Redemption the Pokemon game. I'm just a Red American! Now on to what you've all been waiting for. With all of these designs, I started with the final stage and then went to the first stage. Please keep in mind that all of this is pretty much the first draft for these guys, so things will most likely change later down the line, like the names and the designs. I will start by showing you guys the design process of the first stages. Let's go in order. Starting with the grass starter. Shit, forgot to record the drawing process for this one. Okay, what is America without the American alligators? Given that we already have 2 crocodilian starters and one of them is already an alligator, I decided to make this little guy quadrupedal to differentiate it from the other 2. Change up the proportions to make it more cute and marketable, and bam! Colors! Felt like way too much contrast and the colors not enough green for the first stage. These are the different colors I went through, but I found this one to be most pleasing to me. Yaluchor, the playful alligator Pokemon. Florida is known for its alligators, just look at the GTA 6's first trailer. While doing research, I found that there were tribes in Florida such as the Seminole and the Mikoski. Please forgive me, I'm going to botch so many words very badly. Yaluchor is a combination of alligator and Yatuch, meaning infant. Yatuch comes from the language Mikoski. Both the Mikoski and the Florida Seminole speak. Or, I'm just an idiot because that's what Wikipedia says. Fellow Indigenous or anyone who knows more than me, which is a lot, please feel free to correct me at any point in the comments. The idea is that the darker color and orange is its skin, almost like an actual American alligator, while the desaturated green is plants that cover the body. I based the shiny on dwarf Keymans. Even though these guys aren't water types, they still like to hang out in the water. Please don't expect this level editing again unless I forget to record my drawing process. On to the fire starter. For the fire starter of this region, only one made sense to me. I already like reptiles, so I had to go with North America's 3rd most iconic reptile, the Gila monster. The reptile is a species of venomous lizards native to the southwestern United States and the northwestern Mexican state of Sonora. It can also be observed in the harsh deserts. Be careful as to where you take a step, as the bites from this Pokemon leave a burn. However, if you're lost in the desert, befriend it and it will help you find your way. Gila, the Gila monster Pokemon. I know. So creative. What is a starter trio without a 3rd starter to pick from? For the water starter, it might be obvious where this one's going, but what I will say is primarily based on the pattern on the dusky dolphin and the cuteness of the Raquita. Look, I'm bad at names, so if anyone has any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Porqua. the porpoise Pokemon. Todd Marshall's Caprasukis illustration was the main source of inspiration for this one. I cannot figure out how to make an accurate sprawling reptile leg look good in the Pokemon art style, but it doesn't matter, because I wanted to slightly emphasize the lack of belly drag. I'm naming this Pokemon Dinoquint. Dinoquint is a combination of one of the largest American alligatoroids, Deinosuchus, estimated to be roughly 35 feet long, related to modern alligators and caimans, and part delinquent. As it evolves, it liked to get more aggressive when it came to playing, causing trouble for others in the swamps. Dinoquint, the rough-housing alligator Pokemon. Okay, I have to be honest, I feel very 50-50 with the second and third stage designs for the starter line. You may like them a lot, and I appreciate that, but out of the other starter lines, I feel like this one doesn't sit right with me the most. I'll elaborate more on the third stage. I was kind of struggling to make a Gila Monster starter design, so I started to incorporate elements of horned lizards, as I feel they are another unique group of North American desert lizards. Grino, the desert poison lizard Pokemon. Yeah, for this one I have no justification. It should be obvious already. I won't say it just yet, just in case some of you still want to be surprised by what the final evolution will be. However, what I will say is that I wanted to start incorporating some very minor geometric design elements. The abstract artwork of Pacific Northwest Coast indigenous peoples primarily inspired me. Orqua, the dolphin Pokemon. Folks from all walks of life, we made it to probably everyone's most anticipated stage, the final stage. Let's get right to it and kick it off by going over the final stage for the grass starter. When it came to designing this guy, I had in mind Postosuchus, a North American Pseudotsuchian from the late Triassic. I wanted to incorporate this animal into the sport of alligator wrestling for this design, and what if we turned it up a notch by making him a luchador? Lucha Libres came from Mexican wrestling after all, so I made his eyes like that, trying to resemble the mask of luchadors. Another problem I didn't want to run into was to make it too much like Incineroar and Hawlucha, so I kept experimenting. I thought the heads of Chinese alligators looked cool, so I doodled the head of one for inspiration. I was struggling with this design for a while. I had to take a break and ask myself, if I was given an alligator Pokemon starter, what would I want the final stage to look like? So that's what helped me. I decided to say screw it, and that's how I got the design I have right now. Remember the Seminole and the Mikoski tribes from earlier? Well, they engaged in alligator wrestling because they lived in Florida, and they even have a show that you can see today which they demonstrate their alligator wrestling skills. I like the design, but I think it should be bipedal somewhat, and I want to try to incorporate some Seminole and Mikoski aesthetics in there if I can. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. A Luchagator, the alligator wrestling Pokemon. Oh boy, this one. The final stage of the fire starter. I originally had some sketches already. This was one of the first starters I designed because I think the Gila monsters are so cool looking, and Torterra was one of my favorite starters. I wanted to combine the two. My idea for this guy was to be chunky, just be able to tank hits, and I also want to see how reptilian I could get the body. I was really struggling with the head design, so that's when I came up with the idea to combine the features of a horned lizard with it. I tried to mess around with different body shape because I wanted it to somewhat resemble a sweat lodge. As far as I understand, it's what you do to pray, connect, and purify yourself by sweating. They had multiple other uses as well for other indigenous groups, just FYI. According to Wikipedia, the Apache believed its breath could kill a man, and the Tohono O'odham and the Pima believed it possessed a spiritual power that could cause sickness. In contrast, the Seri and the Yaqui believed the Gila monster's hide had healing properties. The Navajo Dine believed the Gila monster was the first medicine man. According to my mom, I'm Yaki from her side, so this was a pretty cool fact to learn about the Gila monster. With it being fire poison type, I have an idea in which it heals its allies with its fire like in Elden Ring, and then release the poison to attack its foes or something. I also wanted to see if I could maybe make the tail resemble a Chanupa, but I couldn't get it to look good enough, so I improvised and turned the horned lizard tail upside down just to make it resemble a Makui, a weapon that's a wooden club with several embedded obsidian blades, but it just doesn't feel coherent. Overall, I like the shape of the body and the idea of the legs sprawling like this, but I don't like the overall design because it doesn't really scream Gila monster besides the stripes, but that's it. Please let me know if you guys have any ideas and or suggestions. Henna monster, the toxin healer Pokemon. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we finally got more cetacean Pokemon. I love Cetitan, except Cetadel. And OMG, finally a toothed whale that isn't Kyogre? Another dolphin Pokemon? And it evolves? Let's see what it evolves. Oh. So, I just wanted to give what we cetacean lovers want. Technically, this was the first starter design I did in a long time, since it had been a few years before I did the first sketches of the Gila monster starter. This one was pretty easy for me, to be honest. I was heavily referencing indigenous Pacific Northwest abstract designs, totem poles, and artistic orchid depictions. Again, please feel more than free to correct me. According to Wikipedia, in some indigenous nations, orcas tend to be associated with the dead, hence I gave it water ghost typing. It kinda gives me Jiangxi Chinese vampire vibes, though not intentional. I think a little bit more could be pushed with the design, and I'm not happy with the ghostly mist. I definitely half-assed it. I was thinking of some way to perhaps maybe make it resemble a canoe, but I couldn't make it work. I don't want it to look like a narwhal or Kiwa, the soul guide Pokemon. There we go, everyone. Let me know which starter you would pick. I have so many ideas for this region, and world building fans, don't you guys worry, I got something cooking. It's just that a science fiction world takes a little bit more time than making Fakemon. I've got a public Discord and a Patreon description. I've been uploading a lot of behind the scenes and early access to art and ideas on my Patreon, so check it out if you're interested. Also, feedback is always appreciated as I'm still trying to learn and grow as an artist. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Massive shout out to my first ever patron, Bucka0.